complete the item over here by selecting complete it and save. I want to point this because it might be confusing that if you have a planned email, like in this case, and right now you are clicking on, send email to customer, and really send that email to customer, you might think that you are done with the item, which is for now not true. So we'll not automatically complete the note. We'll create a new by sending an email from here. We'll create a new direct email with status completed, and this one will remain as it is with status planned. So if you are doing this item, doing this task, you will need, after sending the email from here, to change the status from planned to completed as well.
Okay, so if you're just using like the follow-up, the calendar that you want to follow up at a certain date with an email, even if you send the email, you have to go back and mark it as completed. So, yes, but if you're just going to send an email through customer one-on-one and you don't have anything planned, you're just going to do just your normal follow-up, there's nothing more you need to do. It's automatically going to show as completed.
Exactly. Yes. These are the items that are new and that require clarification related to action plan and notes. And the other items that we have something new on is the traffic entry, where we are adding new traffic related to us.
Can you show us how to get to the traffic entry screen?
Yes. So under the customers drop-down menu, we have traffic entry item over here.
Okay. Thank you.
What is new in this screen is the fact that we have added a new field, date of visit, to point exactly what was the date of visit. Up to this point, we were able to specify only the week, so that will end at the end. The time frame was a week for traffic entered, and now we have the option to add a specific date as well. So we have Monday 2 people came, and so on and so forth. And all, of course, will fall into a certain week that will be counted and displayed in the reports. So this is what is new in here, date of visit, and also the fact that now this report can be exported to Excel for further data analysis if required.
So just to clarify here, if you want traffic counted at each day, so as a salesperson, if you just like to mark your traffic down daily, you would just put the date in there. Or as a sales manager or owner, if you want to get daily traffic updates, you would use that date of visit. Correct, Darius?
Yes.
Otherwise, you would just put the week in there, and the week, remember, always is Monday through Sunday. So I know even in Utah, you guys aren't open on Sundays, so it's just gonna go Monday through Saturday. But then that will just roll up. So you can see what Sue has done. So for 3/24/13, which would be Sunday, that would be last Sunday. So she had 7 traffic units from the previous week. So I guess now you have the option to do either or. We did have one question too, and that was, in what example would the include note text and email checks box be used for? So Darius, can you just go back to Action Plan or Customer One-on-One or something where we can see that? There's a couple of templates in the note box already that you can use. If you see there it says load template, we've got the AIDAT email formula in there, and you can also create your own template. So let's just say you have a standard greeting or introductory email that you want to send out to all the leads that are getting assigned to you. You can go ahead and you can put a name for the template, so the note name, then you would go in and you would write out what you want in there, and then you would put a save as template, you would put a name for it there and press save. And then that would be saved in the load template area. And so every time you got a new lead, you just want to simplify or streamline the process, you would simply select that template, check on the include note, text, and email, and then send email to customer. So I know a lot of leads come in through the design library or say from a planning guide where you've only got a name and email. You're really unsure at this point as to what their motivations are, but you need to get an email sent out anyway introducing yourself. I know Pratt Remodeling was real good at this, where they just had a sort of a standard email that would go out where they would have a link for to schedule a talk with Mike. So that's certainly one way you could do it. Remember, once the lead is assigned to you, even if they schedule a talk, it's still the information is going to come back to you, the survey report. So if they're scheduling a talk with your owner or manager, whatever, you will still get the notification, and you will schedule the talk or confirm the talk with them. Hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, I will continue. So we have discussed about traffic entry, which can be found in customers traffic entry, and the next item that has something new in is the action plan scorecard, which can be found in the processes, a drop-down menu, scorecard, and action plan. So over here, and by default will came for the last month, and of course you can always change states over here for the search. And what is new in here is the fact that on the numbers we have live links. These the items that have a live link are in blue. So if we are clicking on a number over here, which means prospect, meeting, home site deposit, deposit completed, if I'm clicking, this will go directly to the action plan and display exactly those 4 items that represent. So this is why we have added the completed from date and to date. As you can see in here, the from date and to date is exactly the same as in the action plan. So we'll get us exactly those 4 items that we are maybe interested in.
And I could tell you Sue's had a good week. She got four reservations in 1 week, so Sue's on fire. Oh, that's 1 month, excuse me, 1 month. Well, still, she's averaging 1 a week. Or not even 1 a month. No, it's 1 week, Darius, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. 225 to 33. Okay, so 2 ways to use this. One is as a salesperson, you just want to see, hey, what am I showing I accomplished this particular week? For salesperson, you're looking, what did I accomplish? You want to confirm, did all my notes get logged into the system? And if they didn't, why not? Was there things I did outside of the system that should be logged in there? Number 2, from an owner or sales manager, if you're going to do any sort of planned encounters or sort of weekly sales meeting, and you just want to know what's going on and not have to get a breakdown from each individual salesperson, is you can actually use this screen and see everything that was accomplished in that previous week. And so the more you use the system, the more activities you put in here, the higher the score is going to be, where you see actual score up there versus target score. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. This is something that we've had in development for quite a while. We had some development issues with it. Now we believe it is working correctly, and we will be doing another audit here in about 1 month at the end of April to confirm that everything is accurate. Anything else, Darius?
Related to new items, this is all that we want to promote right now. So.
Okay. All right, wonderful. If anybody has any other questions on Ubix functionality, let's ask them now. Otherwise, I'm going to change back to my screen, and we'll go back into our agenda for today. All right, I don't see any questions right now, so let's get back into it. Okay, so I'm going to take you through now the second part of this initial consultation. You've already had the discussion that people have agreed that yes, they would consider using you as a builder, and so we're going to look at the next 2 things that you want to get accomplished during that first meeting. And remember, we go back at the life cycle stages here. Everyone starts out as a lead, in some way, shape, or form. We're moving them from a prospect, and now we're getting them to a buyer. So red, yellow, green. Obviously, we all like signed purchase agreements to get them into buyers. So as part of that, we have the prospect to buyer, the three main steps. The initial consultation, some sort of a home site reservation, or perhaps a scope and range meeting for those of you that are building on scattered lots and where the people already own their own land. And then we got to get a plan deposit and or purchase agreement. Most of my clients that are design build, the plan deposit is the biggest hurdle to get to, and the purchase agreement is pretty simple after that. For those of you that aren't using the plan deposit process, obviously the purchase agreement is the ultimate goal here. So let's again break down the initial consultation. What we discussed last week, the first thing you want to do is find out would they consider hiring you, and we're going to go through those topics from that the visual PowerPoint that Eric and I did the demonstration on. So we will, if design is important to them, we'll cover that. If they're price sensitive, we're going to cover that. If they are scared of the process, fear of the unknown, we will go through that. If they think they need to go out and get 6 bids, we will discuss the features and benefits of the bidding versus design build process. So we've accomplished that, and we are assuming we've got a yes. They say, yep, you know what, I would consider building with Hallmark Homes. Okay, so now what I want to move to next is my needs, wants, and wish list. So we're going to go ahead and pull that up again. If you remember seeing this before, this is part of your send ahead, the needs, wants, and wish list. And what we're going to ask people to do is simply break their project into 3 phases. So what do you need to have in your new home or remodeling project? In other words, if you don't get it, you're not going to build, or you're not going to do the project. So what are the core functions that you want to have? Normally there's 3. And those tie right back into the hot buttons too. What are some of those wants, and what are the wishes? Let's put everything down there right now. Let's not worry about budget or how much stuff's going to cost. Let's just get it on paper. So you're going to ask them to fill this out before they ever meet with you. But as you know, there is probably somewhere between 40 to 50% of your prospects that will show up to that first meeting that have not filled it out. So at this point in the presentation, you have to ask them to pull it out, and if they have not done it, you need to do it with them right then and there. So don't show them the model home. Don't start looking at floor plans. Don't run over and look at the kitchen cabinetry. You need to fill this out. It's very, very important. So what I recommend is this. If they haven't filled it out, you filled it out with them. If they have filled it out, you simply are going to go through each section, and you're going to do what's called a summary close. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a section. But a summary close is simply sounding like, so it sounds like you want a 3-car garage. You want to make sure the kitchen is open to the great room, and you've got an island that can seat 4. Along with, you want to make sure that you get that luxury bath in the owner suite. Does that sound right? Those are the 3 main needs? Yes. Okay, great. Confirmed. Move on to wants, move on to wishes. This is a form you're going to keep. And so you need to make sure you have some way to make a copy at your model home or wherever you're with. So whether they email it back to you, or you're going to scan it and send it back to them, or make a copy in your model home, it doesn't matter. But you need to keep a copy of this because this will be used as part of your pricing in the future. Okay, so moving on from needs, wants, and wish list, we're going to get into the educational walkthrough. Now, I'm going to make the assumption right now is that you do have a home to walk through. So whether it's a model home or, say, a completed inventory home. For those of you that do not have a home to walk through or are going to walk through one in the future, I have a separate checklist for you that you can use. So the educational walkthrough, or what I would call the model home demonstration, make this a little bit bigger for you. This is a section inside Game Day Coaching. I will make sure you guys have the link to download this if you haven't downloaded yet. But this is where you get from a sales perspective, you get the art versus selling. The demonstration is definitely an art. It's definitely an art, and it's something that you need to practice because, by and large, 99% of new home salespeople out there and remodeling salespeople demonstrate incorrectly. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to walk you through the parts of the presentation and demonstration. We're going to get into some of the background of things that you want to cover as part of this, and then I'm going to go ahead and I have what's called a model home demonstration worksheet in here, and there's an example of it. And when we come back 2 weeks from now on April 11th, we will actually do a role play of a demonstration. every single one of you should have somewhere between a 6 to 10 point demonstration. That is, if you envision your model home right now, or an available home, or even if it's a customer's home you're going to show, you need to pick somewhere between 6 and 10 points of places you want to stop and you want to get feedback, as well as demonstrate either a design feature, an included feature, or perhaps it's a construction feature. Something with your, the construction process that you use to help build value for your offering. So let's walk through first of all the parts of the presentation and demonstration. The transition question, TQ, very important. Some examples here. About how much time do you have to see our neighborhood and homes today? Isn't there an area of the home you'd like to take another look at? So it's simply a way to transition from one part of the demonstration to the next. Now the statement is simply you're telling people you're going to do that. Great, let's go take a look at the available home sites. Cool, let's go up and look at the owner's suite. That sort of thing. Same thing, but it's just a transition point. Reflecting. So here I'm going to repeat one item. So reflecting. So large kitchen sounds like it's very important to you. Is that the most important thing to you? Versus chunking is where I can take multiple things that they have discussed, just like we would do with a needs, wants, and wish list. So it sounds like you're looking for that 3-bedroom rambler, south-facing walkout home site with a spacious kitchen. Does that sound right? Very, very important you do these. They're tiny little minor closes, but you do these things because you're actively listening. It's part of active listening. And the more your prospect feels that you understand them, the higher probability they are to move to the next step in your sales process. So very important. Socratic questioning, probably this is my favorite technique to use while demonstrating. So if, let's say I find out that someone's also considering used homes. So I would say, John, how important is energy savings to you? Or one of my favorite lines is when it comes down to price, so many people are price sensitive, is I would say, well, John, what's more important, price or cost? And a lot of times people don't know what you're asking. So it's a great, so what I want to do is I want to say, well, they might say, well, both. I say, well, I'm sorry, it's impossible to have both. Price, you get the advantage of getting once up front. Once you get a low price, the benefit is gone. Cost, you get the benefit of every day that you own and live in your home. Let me explain the differences between a low cost versus a low price. And you can go then into comparing about all the high costs of ownership with a used home versus the low cost of ownership with a brand new home. Visual aids, things that you are going to use as part of your demonstration. So just like you had a visual aid with your tablet, using for the initial consultation for that, are we a good fit? Would you consider hiring us? You could use your tablet again as part of your demonstration visual aid. So this could be maybe photos. And so if you have your photo gallery broken down by rooms as you walk through the model home and somebody says, ooh, I hate your kitchen, or oh, I don't like this kitchen at all. Very nice thing to do is just to hop into your photo gallery and be able to show pictures of other kitchens that maybe they do like. So if you have very dark cabinets and someone's taking white cabinets, you're able to show them kitchens like that. Keep in mind is that as a salesperson and a builder, a model home can become as much of a detriment as it is as a benefit. Because if the model home, if the motif does not match what your prospect is looking for, they lose believability. And if your prospect does not have believability, they are going to go look for it elsewhere. So it's important that you understand and look for things that they don't like, and then be able to show them through a visual aid that, hey, you know what, you can accomplish what they're looking for. So if you're going to place physical things in the model home, picture frames are very nice. You want to put them on the wall, that's fine, or perhaps a presentation book, or you can use your tablet. So testimonials are great to put throughout your model home, especially if you have a picture of people that you've built with. Yes, momentum questions. Pretty simple. Great day, isn't it? So we talked about that with the greeting, about getting that yes momentum going when you first meet with people, raising their comfort level with you. Okay, involvement questions. Involvement questions are important, but be careful not to overuse them. So an involvement question is something that your prospect cannot answer without emotionally owning your home's or remodeling project. So as an example, can you imagine sitting on the front porch and watching the kids play in the neighborhood? Well, now I have to stop and envision me already living in one of your homes in this neighborhood or on my property, watching the kids play in the neighborhood. That's an involvement question. So they get a little bit sappy, so you got to be careful you don't overuse them. What I recommend is usually you're going to have about 2 involvement questions for your entire demonstration. And keep in mind, what are some of the most emotionally charged parts of your home? The exterior, the kitchen, and usually the owner's suite. Those are 3 of the areas where it would be a good spot to ask an involvement question. But you see here, I put a note. Don't use more than 2 types of each questions in each demonstration. And maximum of 6 questions, only if you're going to have, say, 10 particular demonstration points. Okay, feature benefit statement. Feature benefit statement is simply, instead of saying, well, we have poured foundations, obviously the solid poured concrete walls are much stronger than block and keep water on the outside of the wall, giving you drier, more comfortable future living areas. So I have a feature, but I have to tie a benefit on to it. So I don't automatically assume that my prospects realize what the benefit is of some of these things. And be careful on getting too technical with some of your included features, your construction features, especially when you get into the mechanical room. You can lose people really quick. So again, you want to very much tie it to how this is going to make their everyday life easier versus getting into really analytical. Now, of course, the exception is I have an engineer type that love to talk details. Then I'm going to get really deep into the details. But that will come through, once you understand who your prospect is and what their personality type is. All right, unique selling proposition. ABC Home Builders is the only builder in blank community neighborhood that does this. So we're the only builder. And as part of the whole setup process here, we strive to develop a unique selling proposition for each of you. So it's very important that you do include this at some point in the demonstration. Now, the unique selling proposition can be a multitude of things. It could be a location-specific advantage that you have over your competitors. So it could be this neighborhood is the only neighborhood that has this in this area. Or it could be something to do with the design of your model home. Or it could be the process that you use as a home builder. So lots of different ways that you can use that. Number 10 is a minor close. You're going to ask a minor close every single demonstration point. So not a final close, but it's a minor close. And the purpose of the minor close is to flush objections. I don't want to wait until I get to the end and all of a sudden have to deal with some objections. I want people to tell me they think the bedrooms are too small when I'm in the bedroom. Okay, that is the example of a minor close. So what do you think of the size of this bedroom? You know it's a little bit small. You know what? Let me make a note of that. We'll discuss that a little more later. So you deliver an overview of your community. Is this a community you consider living in? So in other words, if people shop from the outside in. So if you're in your model home, you're in your particular neighborhood, the first thing you tell them is a little bit of overview of the community, 3 to 5 feature benefit statements. Hey, is this a community you consider living in? Yes or no? If they say no, I hate it, I would never live here at all, well, guess what? You better stop right there and find out if you have something that will work for them. Otherwise, you better move on. Alternative choice, I think you guys are all familiar with this. We use this a lot with the lead to prospect process. Oak woodwork is included. Many of our customers also prefer maple. Which would you prefer? You don't care which way they answer. The alternative choice is a nice way to demonstrate options. So in other words, a lot of your model homes, I call them, by the way, just for good reference point, people walk into a model home, sometimes they get intimidated because they're full of goodies. They're full of options and luxuries. And so sometimes they get intimidated that, oh, I could never build something, this nice. My budget doesn't allow it. And for the record, we all know it's much easier to sell down than it is to sell up. So what I would do from an option standpoint is, let's say I had wood floors that were an option in my particular home. So I would demonstrate and I would say, we're showing wood floors in this model home. Vinyl floors are included. Which would you prefer? And so it gives them they're upselling themselves versus me upselling them. So I always tell people before I take them into a model home is that this is a living catalog. It's a living catalog of things that you could pick and choose for your home. Don't feel like you have to choose all of them. Let's pick and choose the things that are most important to you and then make sure they fit into your budget. All right, so let's move into the actual demonstration itself. You've got the parts of the demonstration. Now we're gonna move into it. So remember, from a guest experience perspective, The demonstration is all about lifestyle. It's all about lifestyle. Do not get too hung up on the sticks and bricks. So remember, sticks and bricks are simply commodities. All of your competitors have access to the same sticks and bricks you do. So better to talk about lifestyle, design features, and your process, and then also your construction technique versus Anderson windows, granite countertops, wood floors, that sort of thing. So focus on that lifestyle and your process in order for them to achieve that lifestyle. Imagine is a very good word to use. So can you imagine yourself entertaining Thanksgiving in this, this particular kitchen and dining room? Wouldn't that be incredible? And then from her perspective, remember quality. That is an incredibly overused word in this industry. Avoid the word quality. But from her perspective, number one thing that's important to her is going to be communication. Number two is design. Three, we'll get into some brand names. Because just like when we talked about psychographic profiles, there are certain brand names that she feels are going to help her achieve her hope for self-image, or the hope for lifestyle for her family. And then construction is number four. So oftentimes we get way too hung up on the construction details. We move them up here. We're first and foremost, we need to be focused on communication and design. This is where you should be spending the majority of your time. Now, other key components to edu-selling women. Okay, so edu-selling service, coming off as a consultant. So I want to give you an educational walkthrough, an initial consultation. You look at some of that language that you can use when setting up appointments and when meeting with people is, let's help you get the information you need so you can make a well-informed choice. The relationship, of course, is very key, and that comes right back to trust. If she doesn't trust you, forget about it. So you need to make sure that's established right up front. Knowledge and information, as you can see, is lower on the list, and even price and incentives are lower yet. Because if trust isn't established, knowledge and information can be sought from the internet. It's pretty easy. And price, you know what? If I don't trust you, it doesn't matter how low the price is. So that's why we got to focus on, again, number one and number two at the top. All right. Now, this goes back to, I've said this before to some of you maybe haven't heard this before, but there are 4 steps to working with every prospect. It's called the identify problems, agitate problems, introduce solution, call to action. So before you ever get into a model home demonstration, you need to make sure, as part of your needs analysis, is you identify what are their current problems and their current living situation. In other words, what's wrong with where they're living right now. So identify those problems, then I need to agitate those problems. So as an example, let's say the home is too small or the kitchen is cut off from the great room and they don't have enough room to entertain family or friends. And so that's an agitation. So in other words, they're always going to other people's homes to do entertaining versus having people over to their home. So what we're focusing on here is that the pain of staying the same has got to outweigh the fear of change. It's always a scary situation to walk into, say, building a home, much more so than buying a home, because I've got to visualize everything and I've got to trust that you know what you're doing so you don't screw it up for me. So you really got to focus on those pain points, and that comes with step number 1 and 2. Identify the problems and agitate those problems before you ever get into walking through a model home or looking at floor plans or talking about pricing or even getting into home sites. And then for those of you that have a community that you're demonstrating in, you've also got to figure the neighborhood and then the home sites and the model home first. I like to focus on the model home first because I'm going to touch on the community and neighborhood in my initial presentation. So when I first meet with someone the first time, yeah, we're going to talk about location, we're going to talk about the neighborhood that they're considering, including this one. And if I'm certainly doing scattered lot stuff, I'm going to focus right on the design first. I'll always move to the home site a second because I can't do pricing until I have a home site identified. And then I'm going to go in for the either plan deposit or purchase agreement. I'm going to skip actually over to right here, the key idea. So number 2, flush objections. This technique is called question in and question out, and you're going to see it as we get into the model demonstration worksheet. So in other words, if let's say you have 6, 8, 10 demonstration points, and think about your model home that you're working in. If you have a 2-story with a basement, you're probably going to have 10 demonstration points. If you have a 1-level with no basement, you might have 4 or 5 demonstration points. So it really depends on your particular home that you're demonstrating. But the thing you have to remember, if you don't do anything else, is to use this technique called question in and question out. In other words, when you go to a certain demonstration point, the first thing you will do is ask a question. And before you leave that demonstration point, the last thing you will do is ask a question. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so the model demonstration worksheet. 5 to 10 point demonstration actually involves your guests by confirming hot buttons. You make choices and emotionally involving them in the lifestyle that you're offering in your new home. Now, if you do not have a model home, and let's say you are primarily demonstrating your past customers' homes, that's fine. I realize you're not going to have a set demonstration. However, you need to have one that you can apply to each and every home. So I would probably come up with one that's 6 demonstration points that I know that I can go into and I can have some conversation and get some feedback. But as you move through the exercise, you're going to pick specific spots in the home where you want your guests to stand. Now keep in mind, when someone's following you, they're going to stay in their own personal bubble. So they're going to stay about 3 feet away from you. And so if you're leading someone through your model home, there are specific areas in your model home that have the best sight lines. Typically they're diagonal. Okay, thank you. I can talk this morning. Meaning that you're going to be looking from, say, through a certain room or rooms, and then usually out a window. So those are the best sight lines. And we're going to talk more about how those sight lines work when we get into demonstrating the home site. But I want to pick those. So one of the first things I need to do is draw out a floor plan of my home, and I need to sort of pick and choose the areas that are the best spots to stop where they can see the home in its best possible light. It's like taking a picture of yourself, and everyone has their good side and bad side. I've got 2 bad sides, but hopefully one of you guys do have one good side. And your homes are the same way. You've got great sight lines, and you have sight lines that are not so great. So we want to find those great sight lines. Make sure you're taking into consideration light as well. Some of those of you that have model homes where the back of the home faces north, you have a tougher time with light than someone that faces the back of the home faces south, and you'll notice that. So there are certain times of the day where it's better to demonstrate your model home where you've got more light. North facing is typically going to be late morning, early afternoon. I always like to carry a clipboard with me, and I will actually print out my demonstration spots on my clipboard, and I'll walk them through with me so I don't forget anything. I mean, I'm the cheat sheet type guy, and so there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. And as long as you're taking notes on your clipboard, it's perfectly normal for you to carry a clipboard with you. The other thing, objections, right here. Objections during the presentation and or demonstration. When it comes to objections, there's a technique called shelving. Shelving your objections. So in other words, let's say you're demonstrating a bedroom, and somebody makes the objection, oh, these bedrooms are too small for us. We need 13 by 14, and these are only 11 by 12. Don't get off track and start talking about how you can move the wall out 2 feet, or you could look at a different plan, or any of that. Simply acknowledge it, write it down, and tell them that you will bring it up again. So thanks so much for bringing that up, Mrs. Guest. Let me make a note of that, and we'll discuss that later. Oftentimes, objections that happen during the demonstration are simply smokescreen objections, and they just want you to slow down a little bit. So, which it talks about right here. So just slow it down a little bit. Go back, use the FORD acronym, talk a little bit more about family, their job, the things I do for recreation, or their dream vacation or dream home. Okay, so we're going to go through the components of the demonstration, and again, remember we're going to have an area of focus. So what we want to figure out is our demonstration point. Do we want to focus on storage and convenience, entertaining, flexible living, relaxing, or de-stressing? So there's an area of focus. So as an example, let's say I'm standing in the kitchen. Most likely, my area of focus is going to be entertaining. because that is the room that we use the most in the home, whereas my owner suite might be relaxing and de-stressing. Socratic questioning, this is a reminder, deductive line of questioning, it takes the customer to a predetermined desired point. So I am going to begin each demonstration point with some sort of Socratic question. So Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, what's your first impression of this kitchen? And then I shut up and I let them talk. Okay, the feature. Each demonstration point might have 3 to 5 features. There might be 1 feature, but you should have features that you want to talk about. Design statement. You're always going to start with design and you're going to reinforce with value-added features. So from a design statement, let's say you're talking on the exterior and you've got a craftsman look. Tell a little bit about what the thought was, behind with your ideas and or your architectural designers or your interior designers' ideas behind the craftsman style of the home, or the soft contemporary or traditional or farmhouse or whatever it is. Included feature, for those of you that have included features, again, you can talk about some of the ones that are maybe most highest value perception. So if wood floors are included, you can talk about wood floors being included as your included feature. Involvement question, remember we want to try to use at least 2 involvement questions during your demonstration. Alternative choice we talked about, great way to introduce an option. So we include vinyl floors with all of our homes. However, this model home is showing wood floors. Which would you prefer? How much are wood floors? Well, tell you what, let me make a note of that when we get to our preliminary pricing. Minor close, remember this is typically going to be your question out. So before you leave, you're going to ask, that's the minor close. So it sounds like you would like this particular roof style. You like the windows as we're showing them, and you want to make sure that we add a little more stone on the front of the garage up to about the top of the doors. Does that sound right? Great, so I can do that. That's my minor close. Brand name. I'd like to get some 5 well-known brand names in your products. Easiest ones are going to be appliances and plumbing fixtures, because most everyone has usually heard about those brand names. So it is important, even though your competitors can copy that, it is important that you reinforce that you are using name brand names. And then discovery zones. Very important area that most people do not take advantage of. A discovery zone is something that you actually have to open, and there's a cool factor to it. So I was just with a client here last Tuesday, and the Eric, I think you're on the call right now. So we were going through the master bedroom, or master bathroom it was, and he pulls out this little cool drawer, and inside the drawer in the bathroom has a spot where you can plug in your curling iron and your hair dryer, and then there's this little like a metal container that you can place a hot curling iron and your blow dryer inside the drawer. And so when you close it, it stays plugged in, it's out of sight, and there's no mess. Very cool. That's a discovery zone. So instead of you opening up that drawer and saying, hey, check this out, you ask me as your prospect to do it. Hey, Rick, open up that drawer. Tell me what you think of this. And we open up, we go, oh, wow, this is cool. That goes back to, remember, kinesthetic learning. I learn by doing. So instead of you telling, you ask them to do something and let them learn by doing that. So let's finish up here with an example of what this would look like from an exterior. So remember, the F stands for feature, SQ is Socratic question, D is for design statement, IF is included feature, IQ is for involvement question, AC alternative choice, MC is minor close, BN brand name, and DZ discovery zone. And remember, there all of these things up here, there is your legend for those. So on the exterior, where am I going to stand? Well, I'm going to stand on the sidewalk off the garage corner of the home. Why? Because that is the best spot to look at this home. That is the good profile of this home, of our home. What area of focus are we going to discuss? We're going to talk about relaxation and de-stressing. Interesting. Okay. So what are the features I want to talk about? Well, we have shutters, we have flower boxes, we've got a front porch. I'm going to talk about the siding, and I'm also going to talk about the driveway. Okay, so what's my Socratic question? Well, that's my leading question. So, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, what's your first impressions of the exterior of this home? Design statement. Our customers tell us they really love the Americana feel, shutters, flower boxes, and front porch. Really give this home an inviting look, don't they? It's tie down, right? Don't they? Oh, yes, they do. Included feature, James Hardy siding on it looks great. It's very low maintenance, carries 50-year product warranty, and you shouldn't have to repaint for 10 to 15 years. Involvement question. Remember, no more than about 2 of these. The front porch would be a great place to watch the kids play in the neighborhood, don't you think? And I tied it down there again. Oh, yes, so now I can't answer that without emotionally sitting on that front porch watching the kids play. Now here's my alternative choice. Now asphalt is included driveway surface, but some of our customers like concrete. Do you have a preference? Oh yeah, we like concrete. Yeah, I don't want like the asphalt gets hot in the summer, so let's go with concrete. Okay, I'll make a note of that. Minor close. So is this the type of look you like to have in your new home? And if they had given me feedback going through some of those other areas, I would write that down. I would say, so it sounds like you like to have a concrete driveway. You'd like to make sure that we have a full brick front, and you like to take the shutters off of the home, and then maybe look at that hip roof versus the gabled roof we have right now. Does that sound right? Yep, that sounds about right. So that's a summary and a minor close at the same time. So what I've done is I have used James Hardy, which a lot of people have heard of as my brand name, and I have no discovery zones because I'm standing out in the front yard. So there's nothing for me to do there. So as you can see, each demonstration point will not necessarily have all of these things included. Okay. So here's your action exercise. In the next 2 weeks, you want to go ahead and you want to figure out, number one, how many demonstration points should you have in your model or available home, or just come up with a generic demonstration that you can use for your, say, customers' homes. And we're going to go through and mark out the location. We're going to mark out the area of focus, feature, Socratic question, design statement, included feature, involvement question, so on and so forth. And you're going to go ahead and put those together, and then in a couple of weeks we will come back. I'll get feedback from you if any of you are struggling with anything, and we'll do a role play of a full demonstration from one of your model homes. Any last questions before we wrap things up today? Yes. Someone asked this, what I have on the screen here today is a printed book, this stuff. Yes, I have this particular, there's 17 pages we're going through here that is in Game Day Coaching, and I will send out the link so you can download this information and have it as a reference. Thank you, Eric. And I think, if I got any other questions, let me see here. Somebody says, hurting my vision. This is, I don't know, who was this? Some smart aleck, I'm sure. Oh, of course it was Star Tingle. Yes. Oh, your tablet. I see, Star. You're saying your tablet's hurting your vision. Yeah, you can print this out and actually, have a paper copy of it. Absolutely. So we'll send you the link to do that. And it's already in Game Day Coaching. All right. I don't see any other questions. So everyone have a happy Easter. And we will talk to you on the April 11th. Thanks very much, guys. Bye-bye.